السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وأرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وأدخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين آمين يا رب العالمين. Welcome everybody to another halqa of Fiqh of Financial Transactions, Fiqh al-Buyu'. And alhamdulillah, we had completed last week Bab al-Ijara. And today, inshallah, we want to get into Bab al-Ariyah or al-Ariyah and possibly start into al-Ghasab, inshallah. So we start with Bab al-Ariyah. When I say Ariyah or Ariyah, both of them are fine. If you do the shadda or just read it with a fatha, what comes to your mind? Borrowing something, صح؟ لا الإعارة أعار يعير. So الإعارة, yeah, it's to borrow something. Now we covered we covered when you loan something, right? طبعا we also covered الإجارة. But what's the difference between إجارة, like renting something, and borrowing something? Like renting something and lending something. What's the difference? Jamil. So one of the main things about this one, when you borrow something, مجانا and free. تمام. So it's as simple as you going to the neighbor, be like, hey, can I borrow your shovel? Okay. This is إعارة or al-Ariyah, right? تمام. So he says here, نعم العارية, the actual borrow thing. He says العين المأخوذة للانتفاع بها بلا عوض. Yeah, so al-ain, like the item that is taken for benefit, for some kind of benefit or user fruct, without any iwad, without any compensation. When you go borrow the shovel from your neighbor, you don't pay him money, right? If you did, that would be what? You'd be renting it from him. So those are two different contracts. والإعارة, he says, إباحة نفعة عين تبقى بعد استيفاء النفع. Borrowing something, one thing, key part of the definition here, he says تبقى بعد استيفاء النفع. That when you're done with borrowing it, it's still there. You're not actually consuming anything, so it can't be a consumable. تمام? So I can't borrow your apple. Okay, can't borrow your apple, eat it, and then because there's nothing to give back. Okay, that wouldn't make sense. Okay. بلا عوض من المستعير وغيره. طيب جميل. And طبعا there's إجماع on عارية, and the حكم of it actually, what do you guys think? Is it something like wajib or sunnah or something that is actually, it's something that is masnoon, that is actually encouraged. Okay. He says here والعارية sunnah. Okay. And they use some of the verses like وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى, right? Help each other in bir and taqwa. وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى. And we have the hadith here, حديث أنس رضي الله عنه, كان فزع بالمدينة. There was like some crazy sound. You guys know the incident. فاستعار النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فرسا من أبي طلحة فركبه. So the Prophet ﷺ استعار, right? فاستعار, this is from the same word. He actually borrowed. Okay, رواه البخاري. Yeah. جميل. طيب, so he says here, يقول المؤلف رحمه الله فصل في العارية. He says والعارية سنة, right? So العارية سنة. So sunnah meaning يعني someone asks you for something and they need it, you should give it, you should let them borrow it. تمام. Some people don't like it because of maybe some negative experiences. Okay, I gave my see heads nodding. I lent my neighbor the drill and it never came back. Or I lent him the ladder and it came back with damage on it. But we'll talk about the ahkam of who's responsible for any damage and etc. So he says والعارية sunnah. Okay. طيب, and we said the difference between the ariyah and the ijara, right? We said that one of them, al-ijara, when you rent something, is that there's compensation. Tamam? There's compensation. And then he says something, I'm reading from the footnote, something it's interesting to keep in mind. So the first thing is that there is payment for one, and the other one is there's no payment, it's free. He said, and the second difference, وَأَنَّ الْإِجَارَ تَمْلِيكٌ لِنَفْعِ الْعَيْنِ al-ijara, like when you rent something, تمليك لنفع العين. So you're actually paying, you're almost owning the user fruct of that item. Okay? So what is that? The difference is, he says, فَلِلْمُسْتَأْجِرْ أَنْ يَتَصَرَّفْ فِيهِ بِخِلَافِ الْإِعَارَةِ, the borrowing, not the renting, فَهِيَ إِبَاحَةُ نَفْعِ الْعَيْنِ. Okay, so you can actually you're just borrowing to benefit yourself. Meaning you can't really use it for other things. And you can't lend it to somebody else, you can't. But there's a slight difference when it comes to how you can use the manfa'a. So he says here, وَكُلُّ مَا يَنْتَفِعُ بِهِ مَعَ بَقَاءِ عَيْنِهِ نَفْعًا مُبَاحًا تَصِحُّ إِعَارَتُهُ. So now he's kind of like defining what it is. Everything that you can benefit from, ينتفع به مع بقاء عينه, as long as it stays, يعني there's nothing that's being consumed, okay? مع بقاء عينه نفعا مباحا, and obviously it's a mubah benefit. تصح إعارته. So he's telling you what things you can actually, this is the parameters for the things that you can actually do i'ara. He says إلا, and then now he mentions like three or four things. He starts mentioning the exceptions. Can you think of some exceptions? Like what can't you like lend to somebody else?
If it is haram thing.
Okay, tamam. Well, from the definition he says has naf'an mubahan. Okay, so obviously if it's haram, it's not going to be a naf'. It's going to be a naf' muharram. But what are some things? Okay, yeah. What are some things you can think of?
Like if you lend your car to a person who is not good in driving, like harm himself and others.
You lend your car to non-licensed person or someone who is okay. Jamil, that could be something that is could be even يعني haram, because you might be putting that person in danger and other people in danger. طبعا anybody else can think of a contemporary? We have some. The reason I'm asking is because we have some old examples, but I'll mention these examples inshallah, and some of them are kind of applicable, some of them are not. So he says here إلا البضع. What's البضع? The hadith, وفي بضع أحدكم صدقة.
Like you can't
right?
lend your wife.
Yeah, so here he's talking about like al-budha is the private part, right? So he's saying here إلا البضع. So someone who مثلا owns a female slave. That's why I said it doesn't apply now, but maybe it'll apply in the future. But someone has a female slave, he can't lend her to like his neighbor, right? That's something that the only way is to sell or nikah. Those are the only two ways. So he says إلا البضع وعبدا مسلما لكافر. This is interesting. He says you cannot lend a Muslim abd to a kafir, right? And some of the fuqaha, they said because this is humiliation for the Muslim. مع إنه he's a slave, but this is humiliation for the Muslim. And then he says وصيدا نحوه ونحوه لمحرم. المحرم, who's the muhrim? So al-muhrim is the one who is in ihram, is in the state of ihram. So you entered ihram, you said labbaik Allahumma umrah, labbaik Allahumma hajj, whatever. Or you're in the area of the haram. So one of those two people. What's one of the things he's not allowed? Allah says in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Yeah. لا تقتلوا الصيد وأنتم حرم. Yeah. So hunting is not allowed. Even like planting a trap before you're you're there, and then all those things, even like getting a weapon, if you go into like the more advanced books, even like borrowing a weapon or calling someone to come, hey, I just found a really good whatever, a deer or something, come. Even that's i'ana stuff. So he says here وصيدا, so you're not allowed to وصيدا ونحوه لمحرم. So getting this muhrim aside, lending this muhrim aside, or lending him a weapon to do sayd would not be allowed. Okay, and then he says وأمة وأمرد لغير مأمون. Al-amma, we know the amma, the female slave. Okay, wal-amrad, what's an amrad? I think this is the first time we came across this word. Huh? Al-amrad, when you read the books of fiqh, is it's al-sabi, like the young boy who's like who's kind of attractive, like the young attractive boy. So here, like for example, he says وَالْأَمْرَدُ الشَّابِ الَّذِي طَرَّ شَارِبُهُ وَلَمْ تنبت لحيته. يعني it's like he has a very soft skin, and I guess back in the day this was like a fitna for some men, like to have like really like young boys and stuff like that. And even now I guess maybe it could be a fitna. And so so they said you cannot give an amma or صغير أمرد, okay, to someone who's غير مأمون, untrustworthy, because he might do something. Like let's say this guy is untrustworthy, he might have charges of like, whatever, pedophilia or something like that. So you wouldn't, because like, if let's say your neighbor wants to like, he wants your child to help him move something. And your neighbor, خلاص ما في مشكلة, go. Okay? But it's like you don't know the neighbor, they're brand new, it's like, someone that's غير مأمون, you wouldn't wanna do that. طيب نقرأ. So borrowing or al-ariya, he says here, when you borrow an item temporarily and then return that exact item back to its owner after use. This is basically what al-ariya is, or al-ariya. So example, Ahmed borrows plates and cups from Zayd for a dinner gathering and then returns them after use. Right? This is different than ijara. We said when a person pays rent to use something. So that's one of the main differences. It is also different than a loan when the exact same item is not returned but something similar to it. Now, when you borrow some money, you don't return the exact item. Example, a person is lent a bag of rice to cook for consumption and then buys the owner another bag to replace it. So it's not the exact item. This one, another thing that kind of differentiates al-ariya is that when you borrow something, you return the same item. You're returning the same item. Okay? طيب. And then he says it is recommended to allow one's property by others for permissible use. Now, this is recommended. This is something mustahab or masnoon. It is permissible to borrow another's property for use. طيب, when is it not allowed? So this is what we're talking about right now. It is valid to borrow anyone's property that brings permissible benefit to the borrower except in the following cases. So number one, we said al-buda', the private parts, meaning sexual pleasure. This is not allowed except through a marriage contract or through right-hand possession. At-tamlik, right? You have to own that amma. The second thing is a Muslim slave borrowed by a disbeliever. You cannot lend a Muslim slave to a disbeliever, meaning it is not allowed to give a Muslim slave to a disbeliever for use. Can you work for a disbeliever? I'll answer your question. Can you work for a disbeliever? Yeah, that's different, okay? Because أنت رجل حر. You have freedom, okay, to reject some things. But al-mamluk is not. Al-mamluk is not. Yeah, تفضل.
Does this apply for the worker? Like before was if you have some worker, maybe I have a driver or I do something.
Yeah, this is what I just said now. Are you allowed to work for a disbeliever? That's fine. That's different. Because you're a hur. We're talking about the slave. You're lending your slave to a non-Muslim person. Okay? Because what's going to happen? You might be saying, okay, what's the point of this? But the slave, we haven't gone, we talked a little bit about the slavery, but the slave, how do we treat them? Shar'an, how are we supposed to treat them? Like us. They're supposed to wear the same clothes. They're supposed to. If you're gonna, how is slavery with the non-Muslims when you read about it? They're treated like animals, right? So it's not. The Sharia, supposed to put the Muslim is supposed to be above the non-Muslim, even the slave. And so if you lend a Muslim slave to a non-Muslim, they're gonna treat him really, really bad. Tamam. So that's why this is one of the things. But if you're a Muslim who's hur, you're a free person, and you work for a non-Muslim, you have rights, you have, you can accept something, you can decline something, it's not really belittling you. It's not belittling you if you work for a non-Muslim. And then otherwise, then nobody would work here. You have no job. You have to look for a Muslim company all the time. Then he says here, Muslim slave, cool. Number 3, hunting animal, or it's like be given to a muhrim, someone in a state of ihram or umrah or hajj. Meaning a muhrim should not be given to borrow anything that is forbidden for him or for her to use during ihram. So example, a hunting animal should not be temporarily given to a muhrim to slaughter, nor should he be given perfume to borrow. Makes sense. So anything that is not haram for them, you cannot let them borrow. You cannot let them borrow, I guess, you shouldn't lend them something that will cause them to do something haram. Tamam. Number 4, a slave girl or beardless boy should not be given to someone untrustworthy. Yeah, someone untrustworthy, we said, because you're responsible for them and something unwanted might happen. The next mas'ala here is who's responsible. Like when you borrow something from your neighbor or from your brother, right? You borrow his truck, you borrow his snowblower. If something happens, who's responsible? What do you guys think? Or how do you guys do it?
It depends.
It depends.
If you are negligent, you are responsible. If it is wear and tear, it is.
So you're differentiating. So it depends. If you're negligent, is a في تعدي أو تفريط. Remember those two words we talked about before? التعدي is when you do something you're not supposed to do, like excessive. And التفريط is when you don't do something that you were supposed to do. يعني you don't put it in a safe place. You don't feed the animal you borrowed. You don't change the oil for the car that you're borrowing. Okay? التعدي is when you do extra, like you were speeding, or you were like drifting on the road, things like that, or driving in dangerous places. But that's تعدي. Okay? طيب, so you're saying it depends. Okay, what about you? تفضل. You had your right.
Back home, anytime you borrow something, if you cannot return, you have to return it even in a better way.
We're not saying about al-ihsan. You're saying we have to return it in the better way. Naam. Okay, no problem. Yeah, this is from ihsan, but we're talking about like the minimum hukum here. So if I borrow your car, okay, I borrow your car, and I bring it back with a chipped window. Okay, طيب, who's responsible? It happened in my possession.
It's most of the time the person who used it, unless it's something that happened when it was with me before I give it to you.
It happened in your possession, so who's going to pay for it?
Investigation, as he said.
تفضل.
Yeah, just to add to what the brother said, it all depends too, right? Like negligence, and also like what the Canadian call mother nature, natural disaster, right?
طب انت هلا you borrowed the shovel from your neighbor, okay? Or you know what? Forget the neighbor. Someone borrowed from you, because when it's personal, everybody gets protective. Someone borrowed something from you. They borrowed your let's pick your drill. You just bought it brand new. Oh my God, it's so nice. Okay, and he returns it, and like there's a chip or there's something broken, type, and then you go, hey man, what's up? What happened to this? You'd be like, oh, I just put it down and then it just fell off. It broke. Okay, or I don't know, you gave it to me like that. What's gonna happen? مش عارف you. Okay, so actually, what you'll find is in al-'ariyah is that the person who's borrowing is always responsible. Okay, you're responsible. And so if you borrow something from your neighbor, or you borrow something from your brother, or you're responsible to bring it back, except for the things that are ma'loom. Like what? They say, مثلا, I borrow a car, and the oil gets darker. Obviously it's going to get darker. Yeah, it's not something abnormal. That's what happens. Or the tires, they wear down a bit. Okay, I didn't go drifting or anything. Just that's how it happens. Or he uses the example here. We'll read the example. Or you borrow like a carpet or a towel. Okay, it gets like it's not as fresh, right? When you use it, خلاص that's عادي. That's not something that is from your that's something that's damaged. That's acceptable. تمام. So he says here وتضمن مطلقا, and this is one of the mufradat of the Hanabila. And if you remember, when I say the word mufradat, يعني the Hanbalis are the only ones that took this opinion. Okay, so they said that you are ضامن. They have a good dalil actually, because they said, there's an incident where the Prophet ﷺ in I believe in Hunayn. Let me get the hadith. Yeah, he says والدليل حديث صفوان ابن أمية رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم استعار منه دروعا, right, يوم حنين, shields, right, فقال أغصبا يا محمد, like, are you taking it غصبا? We're gonna cover غصب in the next chapter. غصب meaning like forcefully, يعني, like you're not. أغصبا يا محمد, قال بل عارية مضمونة, بل عارية مضمونة, يعني it's something that I'm borrowing, and it's what? مضمونة, it's guaranteed. Okay, some said the other madhab, they said this is I'm just going a bit into this because it's a from mufradat. Okay, so people be like, oh, these Hanabila are so strict. No, because the other madhab, they said, oh, this is a shart in the aqd. This is a condition in the aqd. And we're allowed to put conditions in the contracts, right? But remember, we're not allowed to put conditions that change the whole madmoon of the contract. Okay? So they're saying here, this is not a shart the Prophet ﷺ put. Rather, this is something that is expected from the ariyah. Okay? So he said, this is wasfun la shart. This is wasf for the ariyah. It's not a shart that the Prophet ﷺ had put into the contract. And it makes sense, wallahu ta'ala alam. So really, because think about it this way, you're benefiting from borrowing the person's item. Okay? Always think yourself from both sides. As the one who's borrowing or lending something. Okay? If something happened to it, what would you like to happen? What would you like to happen? Like, what would you like to happen to your drill that was to be replaced and to be fixed? Sah? Okay? Same thing. When I borrow something from somebody, it's in my hand, I'm responsible for it. Okay, the basic wear and tear, like if you returned it to you with like some black marks on the screwdriver or whatever, Ayedi, that's part of the usage of it, right? Or like I don't know, there's a mark on the yellow plastic on Ayedi, this is part of the use of it. Okay, but he brought it back broken, then you should. So he says وَتُضْمَنُ مُطْلَقًا regardless. Okay, it's something that is ضمان. So here the yad of the musta'ir, the one who's borrowing, yadu ضمان. Okay, his hand is a hand of guarantee, right? Yadu ضمان. He's not a trustee, he's someone who's guarantees the item. He says وَتُضْمَنُ مُطْلَقًا بِمِثْلِ مِثْلِيٍّ. Okay, so if it's a mithli, we said back in the day, we said al-mithli is something that has replicas in the market. Okay, so if it's something that has replicas, you bring the same one. So the same drill, okay, you go online, find the same one and give it to him. Or if it's fixable, you fix it. If it's fixable, okay, you fix it. Okay, وَقِيمَةِ غَيْرِهِ يَوْمَ تَلَفٍ. Or if you can't really find the same one, then you find the value of what you broke, of what you borrowed, and you give it to him the day that it broke, the price of it, the day that it broke. لا إن تلفت باستعمال بمعروف كخمل من شفة. Yeah, he said not if it's like damaged, not damaged, but like it changed by normal use. Okay, like كخمل من شفة. المنشفة is like a towel, right? So when you use a towel, it kind of deteriorates a bit over time. So he's like, no, that doesn't count as breaking. ولا إن كانت وقفا ككتب علم. This is the second one, the second exception. What if it's a waqf? Like there's waqf in the masjid, right? Like these masahif are waqf. Or even anything in the masjid here, right? You guys are using the masjid. If you do something to the masjid and something happens to the carpet, okay, not intentionally or not out of tafrit or ta'addi, are you damin? Are you someone who guarantees it? Do you guarantee if you borrow like one of the books here, you take it home and you bring it back with some damage, okay, unintentionally it kind of just wrinkled and stuff. Are you damin? No, you're not damin. So this is one of the exceptions. He said, because waqf is something that is put for the benefit of everybody, okay? And unless he did it out of his own taqsir. نعم. So ولا إن كانت وقفا ككتب علم إلا بتفريط, like we said, tafrit, unless he has some negligence with it. وعليه مؤنة ردها. And he's responsible for the payment or returning it. Let's say مثلا you borrowed something, you borrowed your friend's car, you drove all the way to Vancouver, and you called, hey, Abdullah, yeah, I'm done with the car, you can come pick it up. No, the fees to bring it back is on you. Either you drive it back, or you like tow it back, or whatever. Okay, so وعليه مؤونة the maintenance of returning it. وَإِنْ أَرْكَبَ مُنْقَطِعًا لِلَّهِ لَا يَضْمَنْ. Look at this one. He says, if he rides or helps someone who's munqati'. Who's the munqati'? Someone who's like stranded. Okay, like you're driving and there's some hitchhiker or something. He's stranded, and you're like, hey, you want to ride? Okay. وَإِنْ أَرْكَبَ مُنْقَطِعًا لِلَّهِ لَا يَضْمَنْ. And you did it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like this is something that you did out of khair. Okay. It's not like he stopped you in the middle of the road, be like, hey, get me in. Okay, he says لا يضمن. That person is not a guarantor for this one. كيف يعني? يعني if you got into your car and مثلا he got mud on it, right? Or he scratched the chair. Is he ضامن? No, he's not ضامن. Because you're the one who told him, come, I'll give you a ride. تمام. But if it was he's paying you for it, then that might be different. There's another one that the mu'allif enters, or he in the side notes here, he says another exception وإذا أعارها المستأجر. Okay, إذا أعارها المستأجر. يعني look, this is interesting. The مستأجر is the renter, right? So if I rent a car and then I ask the owner, can I lend this car to somebody else? And the owner says, sure, man. طيب. Now the one who I'm lending it to, okay, something happens to him. Does he guarantee? No, because we said the musta'jir does not. Okay, and the owner agreed, because we said the musta'jir does not guarantee. Remember the guy who rents the car, is he responsible for damage that happens with it? No. If there's something, there's a chip on the glass of the car. Does he guarantee? He doesn't. The renter does not. The one who's renting, when you rent a rental, okay, you don't guarantee that. Okay, so you don't guarantee that. So that's what he's saying here. I asked permission from the owner to lend it to somebody else, and the chip happened in his possession. Because I don't guarantee, I'm not responsible for that. Do you understand? Do you understand here? So the middleman, who's the guy who rented the car, borrowed it or lent it to somebody else. Okay, he lent it to somebody else. And now that somebody else usually said he would guarantee it. The one who borrows would guarantee it usually, the default. But because he borrowed it from someone who rented, who got permission from the owner to lend to somebody else, then he doesn't guarantee. You had a question?
I just want to clarify, due diligence still need to be in place when it comes to waqf.
Say it one more time.
So due diligence need to be expected, in my view, when it comes to waqf.
Oh, of course, yeah, due diligence and waqf, yeah, of course, yeah. When we get to the chapter of waqf, it's coming. But yeah, of course, the waqf is, that's why we said that without tafrit. He said, إِلَّا بِتَفْرِيطٍ. Like if someone is negligent, he's coming to the masjid and it's like, he just came from painting and he's got paint all over it, it's not even dry, and he's like praying and rolling around, taking a, خلاص, this is tafrit. They have some ihtiram for the masjid. Or مثلا he's, when he makes wudu, he like hits the, the water tap, or he pulls the towels really hard. Yeah, this is tafrit. So this is, you have to have some due diligence when using something that is put as waqf. Tamam. Someone else had a question? Tfaddal.
What if you borrow something haram for a halal use, and then you have to accept that haram thing? Let's say you borrow alcohol for a treatment of a wound or something, and do you give that? Do you buy it and give it back?
The question is, what if you borrow something haram? You said here, the example that you gave is if you borrowed alcohol for medical treatment. But medical alcohol for medical treatment, is it haram? So this is, it depends which opinion you're taking. Okay, so if we're gonna say that some would say it's okay for medical treatment, okay, then it's different. It's a different answer. So depending on what's your base opinion. Yani, are we saying that it's najis, we cannot use it ala al-itlaq, yani regardless, or there's exceptions when it's okay to use?
Let's say it's necessity.
Okay, طيب.
Eating pork is permissible for someone who's.
But remember, this is not ariya here, because al-ariya, we said it cannot be a consumable, and alcohol is kind of consumable. You're not returning the exact thing, right? So it will not fall into this chapter, because al-ariya is something that is not consumable. This would be something that you borrowed. It's a qard. Okay, you can say it's a qard. It's a loan. Okay, because loans are not just money. Like I'm going to loan this bottle of, like the example we mentioned. Like you loaned from a neighbor a bag of rice, and then you bought the same one back to him later. That's what you would do. This is the what I would think of. But let's read. So who's responsible? We said the borrowed item is considered guaranteed whether it was due to negligence or excessiveness, excessiveness or not. Tamam? So whenever he says mutlaqan, yani regardless, okay, whether it was negligence or excessiveness. So the one who's borrowing something, he's responsible. Meaning if the borrower lost or broke the borrowed item, even if accidentally, then he must either replace it with something similar, al-mithli, right? We said مثلي, something similar. Give the price of something close to it based on its value on the day the item was damaged. The day the item was damaged, what's the price of that item? Then you can give him the price. This option is done if the first one is unavailable. So the first option is, if something happens to it, you replace it with something similar. You can keep the broken one, okay, no problem. Obviously, he didn't mention here, but I mean, if you can fix it, fix it. Yani. If it's something simple, you can fix it, then fix it. But always put yourself in the place of the one who's letting the other person borrow it. You want it back the same, then you should love for your brother what you love for yourself. Now,
just for this scenario, like when you said if he couldn't find, he gave the money. So he gave the money of a new one. It's not because if they used one, it's not on the market.
No, we give him the price of the item on the day it was damaged.
The price in that condition, or the price of
Yeah, in that condition. Okay, let's say he lent you a lawnmower that's 5 years old, and you can't find the model is discontinued. Okay, so on that day, the price of that you figure it out on Kijiji or on Facebook Market, or ask one of the AIs, and then they'll figure out that today this would be worth this much, and then you give him that much.
So not the new item in that day.
No, because the way it's conditioned on that day.
Yeah, because the present value. So if I give the present value.
No, that's not fair, because heck, you're giving him something better.
Yes. So in that case, if you give me a money that I cannot buy something even similar, I couldn't find any used one. So now I need to buy a new one.
Yeah, use it for a bit and return it. يعني شوف, this is from Bab al-Ihsan, تمام, and we have a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ did that, and he advised the Sahaba to do that, to give it back in a better condition. This is part of Ihsan, and he trusted you, so don't break the trust. These things, it's not worth to break relationships and feud over things that like think about what you would like for yourself. Always do that. Always think what you would like for yourself. And your neighbor or your brother or your sister they'll really appreciate it. You will keep your relationship. Come on, you're really, especially if it's a close relationship. Is it worth $200? Is it worth $150? It's not a big deal. Sometimes people, wallahi, some of the things that we do, it makes people not want to lend anything, because you borrow something, you return it dirty. It's not like something is missing. Like, come on, Annie. That someone went out of their way to, and then sometimes they'll be like, oh, come pick it up. Like, I'm doing you the favor, man. You bring it to my house. Part of ihsan is to do that. Tfadal.
What if, in the drill example, what if the person giving out the drill, he doesn't like the brand that you replaced it with?
So no. So we said you have to bring al-mithl. Al-mithl is the exact same. So give me a brand. DeWalt, right? The yellow one? Is that yeah? Okay. So yeah, let's say it's a DeWalt one. Let's get the same one. Why would you get him a what's another one? Milwaukee or whatever. Yeah, خلاص. We have a handyman here. Or or you get the شو اسمه هذول. Anyways, okay, let's go. Bismillah. So we said you replace it. Jamil. Then we said these are the exceptions. So number one, the following are exceptions, meaning the borrower will not be held responsible if the borrowed item is damaged in the following situations. Okay. So we said loss of value or damage due to normal use. Yeah. And we said, like, if you borrow something that it's normally wear and tear. I just borrowed your car just to go pick up something from the grocery shop. And then I come back and you're like, oh my God, the oil is like this much darker. طيب حبيبي, what did you expect? That's how it works. Or like the car is splashed with like dirty water. Okay, خلاص, this is part of normal wear and tear. So example, Ahmed borrows a new shirt from Muhammad. After use, the shirt is no longer new but used. In this case, Ahmed is not responsible for the loss of its value. This is because Muhammad gave Ahmed permission to use it. Okay, خلاص. Obviously, maybe not the best example, but it's a new shirt. Now that it's been worn, the value went down. He's not responsible for that. However, if an item loses value or becomes damaged due to its use not in a normal way, then the borrower will be responsible, right? Example, Ahmed gives a new shirt to Zayd, okay, to borrow, thinking the latter will wear it. However, Zayd uses it to clean the gutters. So you give you lend your friend a shirt, expecting him to wear it, and then he goes cleans the gutters with it, cleans the windows. SubhanAllah. You know, some people, maybe he lent you a shirt of a football team you don't like, and there you go, and then you put it on social media. Yeah, so then you would be responsible, تمام, because you didn't use it in its proper use, right? وهذا يعني يكون تفريط, right? And then he says also an endowment, waqf. Example, a person borrows some books from a mosque to read, and he damages some of them due to use, and they just get torn, just overuse, the paper gets kind of wrinkly. In this case, he will not be held responsible because he is one of its beneficiaries. Tamam? The waqf is for people to benefit from. He's one of the beneficiaries, and the use of them was permitted to him. Otherwise, then nobody would touch it. Nobody touched the books, it will stay the same. Then it would not make sense. However, if he used them in a neglectful way, he borrowed a book from the masjid, he put it in front of the dog and the cat and the whatever, and it's like it came ripped. And in front of the toddler, and he's like, oh, just normal use. No, it's not normal use. انت قصرت, there was some tafrit, some negligence from your end. Number 3, we said, a person allows someone who is cut off a ride for Allah's sake. Tamam? Example, Ahmed runs into someone on the street who is cut off from his wealth and needs a ride to get to his destination outside of town. Ahmed allows this person to borrow his riding animal vehicle or offers him a ride with him for Allah's sake to get to his destination. However, the person damages the riding animal or vehicle in the process. In this case, the borrower will not be held responsible. You said, hey man, you know what? You can use my car. You can use my whatever. فمثلا, in the case where the Meccans, the Muhajirin went to Medina, right? To the Ansar, right? Some of them would let them live with them. The Prophet ﷺ he matched them with different with different people. Some people be like, you can borrow my house, you can borrow my animal, you can borrow. They're not responsible for that because you're doing it for the sake of Allah, right? You're doing it for the sake of Allah. And the last thing we mentioned is the sharih, the one who's explaining the matin. He added one more example, which is ijara with permission from the owner. And this is the example I told you. Ahmed is renting a car for a fee from Muhammad. So Ahmed is renting a car from Muhammad. Zayd asks Ahmed to let him borrow. So Ahmed is the one who's renting. His friend Zayd asks Ahmed to let him borrow it for a few hours. Ahmed calls Muhammad, the original owner, and asks for permission, and Muhammad agrees, the owner agrees. So Zayd borrows the car, but it gets damaged without his fault. In this case, Zayd is not responsible. Okay, he's not responsible. If it's his fault, he goes drifting, he goes drives one way, okay, and then he gets in an accident, that's tafrit from his end. And we said it is the responsibility of the borrower to return the borrowed item and not the lender to pick it up. This is the asal. Unless you offered, or he offered, the one who lent you something, you're like, I'll come pick it up. Because sometimes you lend something to somebody, and if you don't come pick it up, they're never going to give it back to you. So you're like, oh, khalas, okay, I'll come. I'll come get it myself. Ma fi mushkila. Barakallahu feek. So that's the bab al-ariya, very simple bab. And so this takes us into, inshallah, we're going to go straight into Isha. Let's get started with bab al-ghasb. So al-ghasb, when I say ghasb, maghsub, what's ghasb? What do you think of ghasb? Huh? Yeah, like something that is taken by force, okay? Like they say, ghasbin annak, like whether you like it or not, okay? So he says here, faslun fil ghasb. Al-ghasb is one of the, a very important chapter, and the translation for some of these, like this one, usurpation, anybody ever heard this word before? Have you heard it? No? Khalas, today is a new word for you in English. This is the old school translation. But I think if you were to translate it, okay, it would be something like something that is wrongful, forceful, seizure of something. Wrongful, forceful. It has to be wrongful. Because if someone seizes something from you and it's rightful, مثلا the hukuma, the qadi or whatever, then it's not, that's rightful seizure. But it has to be something that's wrongful and it has to be forceful. Okay? And it's not just about like me going and grabbing something from you, but like, this is mine. Okay? It's also like not giving back something that you owe someone or denying somebody. Okay? This is also ghasb. Mathalan, we just finished al-ariya now, right? Because sometimes people, when they talk about ghasb, they think of someone who forcefully takes something, or khalas. But we just talked about al-ariya. You borrowed the snowblower from your neighbor, and then he's like, hey man, are you done with that? He's like, what? Done with what? The snowblower. What snowblower? The one I lent you, last week. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. So he's like, so he's denying it. This is ghasb, because you took something that is not yours. Okay, this is something. So he says here, al-ghasbu lughatan akhdu shay dhulman. So the linguistic definition, taking something wrongfully, right? Taking something from other people's wealth wrongfully, right? Deceiving someone, right? We have these ayat, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتُدْلُوا بِهَا إِلَى الْحُكَّامِ, right? Don't take each other's wealth بالباطل, wrongfully. And then the other ayah, لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل, again, إلا أن تكون تجارة عن تراض منكم, unless you have agreement between both of you. And then remember the khutbah al-wada'. The reason why I'm putting all these evidences is because the ulama, they say al-ghasbu min al-kaba'ir. Al-ghasbu min al-kaba'ir. Yeah, it's a major sin. Major sin meaning that it will not be forgiven except through tawbah. It's from the major sins. So we have the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, إِنَّ دِمَاءَكُمْ وَأَمْوَالَكُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ haram, right? Like it's haram for you to take other people's stuff. This was khutbah al-wada'. The Prophet ﷺ, this is like the last khutbah he's giving to people, and this is one of the main things. إِنَّ دِمَاءَكُمْ وَأَمْوَالَكُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ haram, right? You cannot go take other people's wealth بالباطل. سؤال, تفضل.
So if you put somebody in embarrassing situation to take his item, is that considered also ghasb or
If you put someone in an embarrassing situation to take their item, give me an example.
Yeah, example, if you keep insisting on him in front of everybody and he doesn't want to give it, but he feels bad.
It's your item.
No, his item.
So
You have a bottle of water. I keep saying, okay, can you give it to me? I need it, stuff like those. You don't want to give it to me, but you feel embarrassed or something like that.
okay, so yeah. I mean, what do you guys think? This is wrongful. Okay, it's forceful, and you took someone's item, and he eventually gives it to you, right?
Yeah, so it's under the ghasb too, right?
Huh?
You say in your heart, you don't really want to be.
No, yeah, he didn't willfully give it to you. He didn't lend it to you. He didn't give it to you. Yeah, this could fall under ghasb. Yeah, you're basically right. I mean, this chapter, Dawlat Israel needs to be there to listen to this chapter and to realize, this is not a joke. You're gonna see now. We're not gonna finish ghasb today, but al-ghasb is one of those chapters where it's like it's serious, yani. And if you remember, we talked about the qaida in fiqh, al-kharaj bil-daman, meaning that whatever you're profiting in, you're liable for. Whatever you're profiting in, so liability goes with profit, basically. But it doesn't count here. Like you'll see that if you forcefully, unlawfully, wrongfully take something from someone, okay, you profit from it, okay, you're liable, but you don't get to take the profit. So that qaida does not work here. Do you understand what I'm talking about? You're liable for it. Yani if I forcefully took your vehicle, okay, tamam, like Grand Theft Auto, right? if you the young guys, if you played Grand Theft Auto, all it is you go stealing cars. You took that car, tamam, and then you started driving Uber with it. Okay, oh, you made money, mashallah. Okay, and then the owner comes and is like, okay, I finally found you. Okay, all the money you took, all the money you profited from, who's it for? It's for the person you took it from, number one. Okay, number two, all the damages on the car, you're responsible for it. فأنت, you are liable, and you don't get to keep the profit. Like it's a very serious bab. It's a serious offense. You take someone's land, right? You go steal someone's land, and you build your house over it, and you put trees on it. Okay, you are responsible to flatten the house. You are responsible to remove the trees. You're responsible to make it look the same it was before. And what else? You're responsible for the rental for the time that you took it for. Yani like you really don't want to get yourself in a situation of ghasb, because it's a very serious situation. طيب, let's start. تفضل.
Now let's say Muslims will take back Palestine.
Inshallah. Inshallah, they will take back Palestine. Inshallah.
Will we be the owners of all the technology IPs and all of that that will be produced in that country as well? It will happen soon.
والله إن الأرض لله يورثها من يشاء. يعني the land belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But يعني if this was taken to a محكمة, يعني to a court, something يعني that actually works, not like the the international courts and stuff like that, but like a proper court, yeah, يعني it's like everything that you got from so obviously you would have to go through everything, but everything you benefited from that stolen land, it goes back to the owners, as long as you can prove that they are the owners. كل شيء, كل الربح and the rental for that property, right? Subhanallah. This is it's not a joke. Because even like when you borrow something, the fuqaha, they say, or when you do ghasb of something, you don't just return the same thing. Anything that's ziyada, anything that's extra with it, you give it back. And if there's naqs, you have to pay the arsh for it. Yani if you forcefully took your friend's textbook from university, okay, and then after a while you made tawbah and you gave it back to him, or he called the authorities on you, any damage on the book you have to pay for it. Okay, tamam. They give examples like if you forcefully took someone's sheep, and that sheep had another, antajat, another one, it had another sheep, then you also have to give that back. But if let's say you took one and then it became old and the price went down, you have to guarantee that as well. You have to pay for that as well. Tamam. So he says here, and it's interesting that the mu'allif, he starts with very strange examples, okay? Because he's assuming that that obviously when you take something you have to return it, okay? Al-ghasb, okay? But he says here, وَالْغَصْبُ كَبِيرَةٌ. Okay, so obviously, فَصْلٌ فِي الْغَصْبِ الْغَصْبُ كَبِيرَةٌ. It's a major sin, obviously. And you said the major sin is something that لَا يُكَفَّرْ إِلَّا بِالتَّوْبَةِ, right? It will not be forgiven except with tawbah, unless it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يفعل ما يشاء, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to forgive that person, then it's under the mashiyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says here, كبيرة فمن غصب كلبا يقتنى. He starts with someone who does ghasb, right? When I say ghasb, think of unlawful, forceful seizure of something, okay, or appropriation of something. ومن غصب كلبا يقتنى. الكلب, right? He starts with the dog, right? يقتنى. ايش يعني يقتنى? Yeah, so if you remember, the kalb is you're not allowed to buy a kalb or sell him, right? You're not allowed to buy or sell a dog, and this is the opinion of the madhab and other madhab. So because something that you'll see is anything that is like haram, it doesn't have a price. Anything that is haram, like it's worthless in the Sharia, like it doesn't have a price. The exception of the kalb is what? The one that's used for? Yeah, for hunting, for protection, for like the blind person. So whoever forcefully takes that dog, not the other one, okay, not the haram one, the one that فمن غصب كلبا يقتنى أو خمرا. Listen to this one. أو خمر ذمي محترمة. خمر ذمي محترمة. طيب الخمر is, did you say halal? Okay, haram. So al-khamr is alcohol, right? Alcohol. Tamam. Dhimmi, who's the dhimmi? Yeah, the non-Muslim who's in the protection of the Muslims. Al-dhimmi is the non-Muslim living in our lands under our protection. So محترمة. So al-khamr dhimmi محترمة. ايش يعني محترمة؟ خمرة محترمة. No. محترمة. Okay. This is marfu. This is mansub. Yani it's not talking about the me. No, because what they say is for the dhimmi. Is he allowed to have khamr? Right. So the dhimmi actually is allowed to have khamr. Okay, but it has to be محترم. إيش يعني محترمة? This is why I'm asking you. Do you know what محترمة means? If you read the book of fiqh, okay, the khamr محترم is the khamr that is kept secret. Like you can have your khamr, but it cannot go public. تمام? If it goes public, it's not محترم. Basically, in a nutshell. تمام? If someone يعني goes into the house of a dhimmi, of a non-Muslim, in a Muslim land, under the protection of the Muslims, and then he this is not the best example because this would be sariqa, because we'll talk about sariqa in the hudud, because the difference between stealing and ghasb, there's a difference. The ghasb is taken like openly, it was not hidden in a place, but the stealing is something that was secretly put and it was protected and then you went and took it unknowingly. This is the sariqa, this is stealing, and the sariqa has a had, it has a punishment, capital punishment, right? That's mentioned, right? وَالسَّارِقُ وَالسَّارِقَةُ فَاقْطَعُوا أَيْدِيَهُمَا. But the ghasb is a bit different because the ghasb is like you openly take something from someone, okay? So we were talking about, so al-khamr, so if someone took their khamr, okay, and so you're supposed to, then he says رَدَّهُمَا. So if you take the permissible dog, which is the hunting, or the permissible alcohol, مثلا, of a dhimmi. Remember I told you he started with some interesting examples, because these are kind of like the exceptions, okay? Then you still return them. رَدَّهُمَا, okay, and he returns both of them, the dog or and the alcohol. لا, then he says لا جلد ميتة, لا جلد ميتة. He makes an exception, not the skin, the jald, right, of the mayta. If you were here in the Fiqh of Tahara, we talked about the skin of a dead animal. The Hanbalis, they say that the skin of a dead animal, you cannot purify it. Yani it's najisa. It's najisa. Others, they said, if you do what do they call it? How do they purify it? What's the Yeah, tanning is, I'm trying to remember the Arabic word. It's slipped my mind. But even the tanning, okay, the Hanabila, they say, except if it's a halal, if it's a halal animal and it's mayta. Mayta meaning it was not slaughtered properly, okay? So a mayta, like let's say any animal that was not done with dhabiha, it died, okay, مثلا it got hit by a car and it died before you slaughtered it, that's a mayta. Okay, we're not allowed to benefit from that, okay? But what about the skin? Okay, so they said we can only benefit from the skin that has been purified, because remember the mayta now is najis. The mayta is najis. So the only way to benefit from the skin is if you purify it, and they say it has to be a halal animal. But let's say it was a haram animal, like a pig. Can you benefit from its skin even if you tan the skin? Can you? No, the Hanabila said no, you cannot do that. Okay, so he says la jilda maytatin, because it's considered najis. Okay, so that one you wouldn't return it. Okay, you wouldn't return it. And then he says wa itlafu al-thalatha hadarun. Wa itlafu al-thalatha hadarun. Hadar yani it's like it's worthless. Yani it's gone. If any of those three things that we mentioned got damaged, or مثلا they got lost or something like that, then you don't return them. Yani you don't guarantee them. If they're still with you, you return them. If they're not, why? Because he mentioned three things that aslan they don't have a price. Like in the Sharia, they don't really have a price for them. Anything that is not allowed doesn't have a price. Like anything that is like khamar, and there's no price on it. So that's why they said it's hadr. You don't return it, and you don't guarantee it. طيب. Let's read. Was there a question?
Yeah, I just like
7 minutes.
sometimes it's hard to differentiate between ghasb and sariqa in this scenario. So let's imagine somebody working for the government. They give him a car and then he doesn't return it. So in this case, is it ghasb or sariqa?
What do you guys think? Someone, the company, give them a car to use, and then he doesn't return it. Is this ghasb or sariqa? Who says ghasb? Put your hand up. We said sariqa has to be something like that's not often open. Because this is important, because when you go to hudud, you can't be cutting people's hands, for you have to be very specific. So when you talk about the definition of sariqa, if I put my phone here, by the way, and you walk by, take it and leave, is that sariqah? In the Sharia, it's not sariqah. In the mahkama, it's not Sharia. It's not sariqah. Why? Because you did not put it in a hirs. Like you did not. It was not in a private protected place. That's what sariqah is. That's why I was trying to tell you guys. You took something. So al-ghasab, don't all. I know in the language we say ghasab like forcefully. No, ghasab is taking. The chapter of ghasab includes anything that you take unlawfully. Okay, so if I leave this here and Adib walks by and takes it, is that ghasab? It's ghasab. He took it, okay, unlawfully. It doesn't have to be forceful all the time, but he took it unlawfully. He took something dhulman, okay? It's not his, okay? Akala mali, dhulman, okay? Bil-batil. Like Allah says, لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. He took my stuff and without, right? Or somebody works in a company and he's the accountant and, he keeps taking, a portion. Or somebody works at a cashier, okay? And he keeps taking portions. Whatever it is, the distinction has to be because it has to be something difficult to get to. Because even sometimes someone can argue in the mahkama, if your car was stolen and you never locked it. I'm using the word stolen, okay, just for so you understand. Taken. Your car was taken, but you never locked it. The opposing side will say, hey, listen, it wasn't. He didn't do his due diligence, so you cannot do the had on this person. You can't do the had of qata'. He might have some ta'zir, some punishment, okay, but you cannot apply the had. The had has to be very specific. Tamam? Wallahu a'lam. So he says here, so the definition to take something belonging to someone else by force. And I said this is not the best definition. We say anything that's taken wrongfully. Anything that's taken wrongfully would be considered ghasab. We said it's a major sin. Whoever usurps or takes forcefully or does ghasab someone's permissible dog, then he must return it. We mentioned the al-kalb yuqtana, the permissible dog, the one who's used for hunting, for protection, for the blind person, then he must return it. A permissible dog is a dog that is used for hunting, herding, or guarding. These three are the only cases when it's permitted to acquire a dog. Yuqtana meaning like you acquired it, like you didn't buy it. That's why they use the word yuqtana. Whoever usurps a dhimmi, okay, that's ghasb on a dhimmi. Dhimmi's wine that he drank in private. Miskin, he's drinking his khamr in private. The Sharia allowed him to do it, okay? Then he must return it because it is permitted in their religion. Tamam? It's khamr muhtaram, okay? That's what when you see khamr muhtaram. However, if he drinks it openly, and this dhimmi goes out in public and he's drinking the khamr out, and you go take it from him, and you go throw it, obviously you shouldn't do that. But then you don't have to return it to him. And if it's spilled, you don't have to return it. And then the last example we gave is the skin of a dead animal. Okay, meita. Taken by force is not required to be returned because it is impure. It's najis. This is in reference to the skin of a dead pure animal that was not slaughtered according to Islamic guidelines, such as a goat that died of a natural cause. Jamil. Okay, let's go to the next one. It says here, if the dog, wine, or the impure skin of a dead animal, of a dead pure animal taken by force is destroyed or damaged, then there is no compensation. This is because these items carry no value. Remember I told you anything that it's muharram, has no value, thus they cannot be sold or bought. How are you going to get them? Example, Ahmed takes someone's hunting dog and then kills it. In this case, he's not required to compensate the owner for it. I think this is a mas'ala that's فيها خلاف. تفضل.
If things are obsoleted, fine.
If things are
Obsoleted, like Muslim gave you laptop, after 5 years, it's obsoleted, it's no value.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you left the job, it's still, you can keep it or...
If the company gives you a laptop, okay, they gave it to you or they lent it to you?
For work, for example.
Okay, so this is part of the contract that you get a laptop, okay, for personally for work use.
For work use or for personal use.
Do they? Okay, let's say they allow it for personal. Okay, طيب, and now you're about to leave the company.
You are still working in the company after 5 years, it's obsoleted, like it's no more working.
Okay. Yeah, you don't guarantee it. What do you guys think? Do you guarantee that? Do you have to pay? No. This is.
Yeah, if you have, like, even if you have to return it or no.
So this is something that the company lent you, so it's not yours. And ليس المالك. Okay, so you're not the owner. If you go to the HR and you're like, hey, here's a laptop, they're like, oh, just keep it. خلاص, end of story. Okay, so the asal is that you give it back because it's not a gift from the company. But if the company gave it to you as مثلا, this is a gift for you starting with us, we're going to give you a car and a laptop. These are yours. A or BlackBerry back in the day, I was going to say BlackBerry back in the day. Yeah, that's yours. But if it's like you're to give you a work phone, and it stops working, you just return it to them. It's not yours. You're not supposed to keep it. Al-asl, that's the asl. Yani. Some companies don't care. I remember actually one brother asked me this similar question. He said there's this guy who works with this mechanic company, and every few years they get new machines. And this guy, these guys, they just leave them or throw them. So this guy, he would take the machines and use it for himself, and nobody would notice. Okay, so this brother asked me, is this halal or haram? I'm like, what do you think? What do you guys think? Yeah, it's not his. He'll say, no, but they actually throw it. You still have to ask the owner, right? You still have to ask the owner. Okay, so it's not yours. Yani this is basically probably it enters into ghasab. You're eating or you're using something that's not yours. Tamam? If the qadi is gonna say this is ghasab, then all the money you made from that is not yours. This is serious. All the money you made from that is not yours. So you have to be very careful on using things that are not yours. Tafadhal.
What about in the case of, like, let's say some people will borrow money from the bank to build their credit, right? So the bank will give them, like, say, 10,000, and then they pay back. Then next time the bank will give them, like, maybe 20,000, pay back. So they'll build their credit.
This has nothing to do with this, right? This is a different question.
All the way to 100,000. So now when they get to that point, whereas the bank already increased their
Credit.
So they'll take out the money, actually go back home, and then retire. Use that money to, like, build a house, or don't come back. So in that case, is that money stolen from the bank, or?
So you're saying somebody who has borrows money from the bank, تمام? طبعا when you have a credit card, you only have credit, you don't have cash. Okay? But let's say you have I don't know, whatever you said it gets to a limit of 100,000. Okay? And you say he goes back home and he uses that credit over there. Okay? And you're saying, what was your question?
So my question is, like, is that considered stealing
or ghasab? Is this ghasab? What do you guys think?
It's a day.
Huh?
It's a day.
It's fraud. The contract is a dain, right? It's a dain. You borrowed, it's a loan. You borrowed money from the bank, and you owe them that money. It's a dain, and if you don't give it back a dain, you're responsible for it.
they already planned their retirement, so to come back?
Yeah, but شوف شو اسمه he's gonna the minute they seize him, which they probably will, he's gonna have a lot of interest on his high. So there's a lot of muharramat going on here. And remember the Prophet ﷺ, we talked about the one who borrows with the intention of not paying back. Like, this is like a major sin. You borrow with the intention of not paying back. This is something very serious. No, of course, he owes that money, right? So, but the anything that he makes out of it, okay, that he can keep, but he still has to pay all of that back. Tamam. And we didn't even talk about the actual riba that comes out of it. We're going to stop here. I was going to actually cover a bit more, but because of Isha is here, next week, inshallah, we will continue Bab al-Ghasab, inshallah. It's actually, and then there's also what can you do with the items of ghasab? Because like when do you remember in the fiqh, if you remember in the fiqh of salah, like, are you allowed to make wudu with a ma' maghsub? If you did ghasab of a house, are you allowed to pray there? Is your salah maqbula? Like, there's a lot of interesting masail, Are you allowed to, so inshallah we will talk about that bi'idhnillah next week. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.